In this lesson, we will review how to write a body paragraph for an essay. This should be a review of information you've learned before. There are three main parts to a well-written body paragraph, usually. The first is the topic sentence, which gives a main idea. The second part is the supporting sentences, plural. These are multiple sentences in the middle of the paragraph. And the third part is a closing sentence, which is in parentheses here because, as we will see, it is not used at the end of every paragraph throughout an entire essay. In academic writing, the topic sentence is usually the first sentence in each body paragraph. It does not have to be the first sentence, but that is where I recommend you place it for a school or sort of educational piece of writing like the one you're working on. The purpose of the topic sentence is to tell what the rest of the paragraph will be about, or in other words, to introduce the main idea of the paragraph. Here are a couple of examples of topic sentences. Fortune hunters encounter many difficulties when exploring a shipwreck. In this sentence, we would expect the rest of the paragraph to go on and to list and describe for us the many difficulties that can be had. A second example, cooking requires a number of different skills. Again, this gives us the main idea of the paragraph, that there are a number of skills, many skills that are required to be a good cook, and we would expect this paragraph to go on and list them all. The topic sentence can be considered like an umbrella sentence. All the other information in the paragraph should fit under the topic sentence, just like the people in this picture fit under their blue umbrella. That means the topic sentence should be broad, it should be general, it should be sweeping in concept. The details, which are the little people underneath here, are provided in the supporting sentences later on in the paragraph. So what do you think? Are these topic sentences? There were many compromises made during the Constitutional Convention. Would you consider this to be a good topic sentence? I would say yes, as long as all the sentences that follow in that same paragraph describe the multiple compromises that were made. Here's another one. Eventually, Roger Sherman proposed the Great Compromise. Does this sound like a good topic sentence? At first, probably not. Unless, of course, the entire rest of the paragraph describes the Great Compromise. If all of the sentences that follow this are about the Great Compromise, then this would in fact make a good topic sentence for a body paragraph. So in the end, whether or not you've got a good topic sentence really depends on the paragraph that follows. As long as your topic sentence is an umbrella that all those rest of those sentences fit under, you're doing all right. So once you've got your topic sentence, next up are the supporting sentences. The purpose of these is to give more information about the main idea of the paragraph. This can be providing more details about something, describing something, or going into more depth in order to expand on the subject of the paragraph. Based off the examples that we saw earlier in this lesson about diving, for instance, we might have supporting sentence that says, boats may be covered in fishing lines or vegetation that could entangle and trap a diver. If you remember, this would be coming under a topic sentence about the many difficulties of exploring a shipwreck. So we get a description of one such difficulty. The other example we looked at earlier talked about the many skills that were needed in order to be a good cook. A supporting sentence that might work in a paragraph like that is the following. Math skills, for instance, play a key role when recipes need to be doubled or halved. Here we're getting an example of a skill that is needed, which the topic sentence told us would be coming. Finally, we come to the closing sentence. Closing sentences are not always used, as I hinted earlier. If you write one, I know you've been taught to use them at the end of every paragraph, and when you're writing with just one paragraph writing, it is a good habit to be in. This is like a concluding sentence. But if you use a closing sentence at the end of each body paragraph throughout an entire essay, it can make your paper sound choppy and somewhat immature in your writing. Sometimes, however, closing sentences are important in order to bring closure to your paragraphs and ideas. So you've got three options when it comes to closing sentences at the end of a paragraph. Possibility one, of course, is to not use one at all, to leave off the concluding sentence. Another possibility is to have your closing sentence lead into the next paragraph. For example, in our shipwrecks paragraph that we've been exploring, we might end that paragraph with a sentence such as, given all these dangers, it is a wonder anyone chooses to explore shipwreck sites. As you can see, this sentence hints at what is coming in the next paragraph. Well, this paragraph has given us all sorts of reasons why somebody may not want to be exploring a shipwreck. This sentence tells us that the next paragraph is probably going to give us some reasons why somebody would choose to explore such sites. A third option for closing sentences is to have it simply sum up the paragraph that it is closing. When we think about the cooking example, we started out with that cooking requires a lot of skills. We gave some examples in the supporting sentences of specific skills, like math skills, and we could end with a sentence something like, people who possess all of these qualities are likely to make good cooks. Right? This simply just sums up. Now, it is important to note that if your closing sentence is a simple summary, you should not use the exact same words as the topic sentence. Let's look at a couple of examples from the History Alive textbook. That's the brown textbook we sometimes use in class. Follow along as I read them to you. The delegates' first action was to elect George Washington president of the convention. No man was more admired and respected than the former commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. When the war ended, Washington could have used his power and popularity to make himself a king. Instead, he went home to Virginia to resume his life as an ordinary citizen. But despite his reluctance to return to public life, Washington would play a key role by presiding over the convention. You can see the topic sentence here in red, that the rest of the paragraph is going to be about George Washington. In black, we get our supporting sentences, which go on to give us some depth of detail about this man who ended up being president of the Constitutional Convention. At the end of the paragraph, we have a closing sentence that essentially sums up and repeats the idea stated in the topic sentence. You can see it down there in blue. Let's look at a second example. Again, we have a topic sentence in red. Under the Articles of Confederation, the new nation also had serious money problems. Just by reading this sentence, we can tell that this paragraph is going to go on to list the money problems that occurred. And it does. The paper money printed by Congress during the war was worthless. Congress had the power to make coins that would not lose their value. However, it lacked gold or silver to mint into coins. The states reacted to the money shortage by, if you look back up at that first paragraph there, it has no concluding sentence. There's nothing there in blue, right? It simply moves on. The text simply moves on to the next paragraph. There's a little bit of a hint in the last sentence of the first paragraph here that one thing was that it lacked gold or silver. And then I give you not the entire next paragraph, but enough to let you know that that next paragraph is going to go on to talk about the state's reactions to the money problems. So to review, there are 3 or sometimes 2 main pieces of a body paragraph. All body paragraphs need a topic sentence, an umbrella sentence that captures the main idea of the coming paragraph. All body paragraphs also need supporting sentences to provide details, examples, and depth to sort of flesh out the statement made in the topic sentence. And some body paragraphs need closing sentences, which can either hint at what is to come in the next paragraph or sum up what has been said in the paragraph that was just written.